Hi everyone, Namaste. So we all know that this live session is actually helping a lot of students who are not able to come to the classes. हमको पता है कि classes नहीं चल पा रही हैं, classes के अंदर problem हुआ है कुछ दिनों के लिए और this is the reason कि हम live session कर रहे हैं. तो दो चीजें हुई before I go for the live session. Two things happened today. The first thing, I got a call by a Kashmiri student. I think Asif नाम है. We play cricket together. Asif is from Delhi batch. And Asif requested me that, sir, you all already have covered a lot of topics in British history. So if through online, you can start some other topics so that we can prepare the another field simultaneously, right? So आसिफ का जो सजेशन है वो बहुत अच्छा लगा मुझे. और दूसरा जो मेरी बात हुई है वो उत्तराखंड से एक स्टूडेंट है जितेंद्र. जितेंद्र भी हमारे साथ क्रिकेट खेलते हैं कई बार, दिल्ली की एकेडमी में पढ़ते हैं और खुद एक कोचिंग सेंटर के मालिक हैं, काफी बड़ा क्राउड है उनके पास. जितेंद्र ने मुझे बोला कि सर आपने एक यूजीसी से रिलेटेड एक एप्लीकेशन लिखी थी कि एग्जाम जो है पोस्टपोन हो जाए, तो मैं चाहता हूँ कि प्लीज पोस्टपोन ना हो या कैंसिल ना हो क्योंकि मुझे दोबारा दिल्ली आके पढ़ने का मौका नहीं मिलेगा. तो जितेंद्र की जो स्पिरिट है वो भी बहुत बढ़िया है क्योंकि 90% बच्चे चाहते हैं एग्जाम कैंसिल हो जाए बिकॉज ऑफ कोरोना फियर एंड ऑल. बहुत कम लोग कह रहे हैं नहीं सर कोई फर्क नहीं पड़ता है, हम पढ़ लेंगे. मैंने जितेंद्र को समझाया कि एग्जाम कैंसिल होगा तो आपको समय मिलेगा पढ़ने के लिए. ही सेड सर मेरे पास जितना आपने पढ़ा है वो है और मुझे इतना पता है कि अगर मैं 15 दिन ना भी नया पढूं तो जो आपने पढ़ा है अगर मैं उसको शार्पेस्ट कर दूं तो पेपर में तो आएगा ही आएगा. आपसे ज्यादा नेट जेआरएफ कौन जानता है. वेल जितेंद्र का मैं इस बात को तो अग्री करता हूँ नो डाउट कि आपको जब तक जितना पढ़ाया गया है उसको आप बहुत अच्छे से पढ़ लीजिए, बहुत अच्छे से प्रिपेयर कर लीजिए क्योंकि नो डाउट वही आने वाला है. प्लस अब हम बात करते हैं कि हमें दूसरे टॉपिक क्या पढ़ने हैं. तो हम यहाँ पे जो पढ़ने वाले हैं या बात करने वाले हैं दैट इज द पोर्शन ऑफ क्रिटिसिज्म. तो आप लोग पेन पेपर पे या तो एक नई कॉपी या नई बुकलेट पे लिख लीजिए क्रिटिसिज्म. एक छोटा सा मैं फेसबुक लाइव भी कर देता हूँ. जिन स्टूडेंट्स को ये इन्फॉर्मेशन नहीं है वो मुझे यहाँ देख लेंगे. जस्ट अ सेकेंड. हमारे बहुत सारे स्टूडेंट्स हैं जिनको ये इन्फॉर्मेशन देना बहुत जरूरी है ताकि वो लोग हमारे साथ जुड़ सकें. तो once again, hello to everyone. This is my YouTube live and Facebook live together. And this is the live lecture, live session only for online students and offline batch of Delhi. But going on Facebook live, I'm informing a lot of other students who are not able to join us right now. They will be given this link in a proper way. So today's topic is criticism. What is criticism? And I'll make it like this so that you all can see. So, guys, what is criticism? The first of all, remember this thing that we don't have a descriptive paper, so you don't have to write pages, lines, and quotations of various writers about criticism. It's a very simple thing that criticism is simply analyzing any poetry, any written piece of work without getting biased, talking about the merits and demerits of the content, and also going for various types of studies related to the content's relation or reciprocational relation with the present society, past, or the future. So technically analyzing a poem from all point of views, analyzing a piece of written work from all point of views is known as criticism. Criticism has one basic quality that the critic should not be biased. And yes, if you remember, then when we'll study this thing, you'll find out that in various ages, there were critics, those who were actually biased. For example, we talk about Samuel Johnson, Alexander Pope. These critics, they blindly supported the classical writings, classical spirits, but actually didn't go in the favor of romantic critics. And just like romantic critics, Wordsworth, Coleridge, and others, they did not favor the classical criticism and had their own opinions, their own likings and dislikings. So now, what are the types of criticism? So put the title, the types of criticism. And here we have two types of criticism. The first one we have is liberal criticism. Second one we have is legislative criticism. So technically there are two broader types, like I'm looking at the Facebook side also, or I should place it here only. So criticism we have in two types. The first one we have is liberal criticism. Second one we have is legislative criticism. These are the two broader types. Along with these things, you have historical criticism, descriptive criticism, narrative criticism. Then you can also go for appreciative criticism, or writer or the author oriented criticism, or the context oriented criticism. So there are many other branches, but they will come in the depth of these things. Basically, it is only the classical criticism, also known as legislative criticism, the criticism which has rules and regulations, and the liberal criticism. So remember this point. Now we talk about the basic thing. As we all know, that classical criticism is more in writers, in content, than the romantic ones. So we will start with the legislative criticism or the classical criticism to make it very easy for नेट जेआरएफ एग्जाम. क्योंकि इन पेपर में क्या होता है, आपको हमेशा एक लिस्ट बनानी है. Most of the students they do this mistake. When they read classical criticism, in between they start reading Wordsworth, Coleridge, Keats, Shelley, and then they again go for the classical criticism of T.S. Eliot. Always remember, when you read criticism, when you complete criticism, always go for simple thing. Go for all the classical writers in the first row. Then second study should be of liberal writers. Now remember this thing, that the classical criticism has actually the base of all types of writing, because that is the first thing, the base of all types of criticism. So starting with Plato, then number 2 Aristotle, number 3 Horace, then number 4 Longinus, then number 5 Ben Jonson, number 6 John Dryden, number 7 Alexander Pope, number 8 Matthew Arnold, and number 9 T.S. Eliot. And after T.S. Eliot, we have some minor critics who support these things, just like A.C. Swinburne and other writers. And then we enter in the genre of new criticism. Now remember this thing, lit theory starts after T.S. Eliot. T.S. Eliot is known as the bridge between the criticism part and the new criticism theory part. So I'm telling you these names once again because I can see the comments of Facebook. Number 1 is Plato. Number 2 is Aristotle. Number 3 is Horace, Horace. Number 4 is Longinus, Longinus. Number 5, we have Ben Jonson. So here we have English critic. And we have critics before Ben Jonson, John Putnam, these kind of writers, George Putnam, The Art of Poesy. But there are minor ones. So technically we have Ben Jonson. After Ben Jonson, we have John Dryden. Then we have Augustan writers, yani ki Alexander Pope. And then Alexander Pope, we go for Matthew Arnold. Because yes, after Alexander Pope, and then before Matthew Arnold, we have Wordsworth, Coleridge, Keats, but they are of liberal criticism, so we should not study them in the same flow. Then we go for this guy, Matthew Arnold, and after Arnold, we should go for T.S. Eliot. T.S. Eliot is actually a man who is in the classical tradition. If you remember the definition of classical traditions, a tradition by T.S. Eliot, he himself says that I'm a classical writer in the line of classical tradition. I'm a royalist in politics, Anglo-Catholic in religion. So this is the row. Then in liberal criticism, the writers who are very much liberal, they had very different opinion. Classical criticism also, I should make it very easy. Thoda sa, Wordsworth, Coleridge, and Keats, they believed that whatever comes through heart, whatever you speak, whatever you feel, is the poetry thing, and it is the any piece of writing, any kind of art. Classicals always believe that whatever you speak, whatever you say, you must think before you say something. You must choose your words wisely. Then only you should speak. So both of these criticism had different opinions. Now let's make it very easy for my students who want to go for नेट जेआरएफ एग्जाम. So all of you, सिंपल सी चीज है, क्लासिकल क्रिटिसिज्म वाले ये कहते थे कि आपको कोई भी टैलेंट आता है, आपको कुछ भी आता है, उसका एक ही फंडा है, उसका एक ही सॉल्यूशन है, उसका एक ही एम है. उद्देश्य ये है कि आप जो भी करते हैं वो समाज को सुधारे. मीन्स reformation, means you must help the society to become better. That was the motto of classical criticism. यानी कि enlightenment, instructions, number 1 point था. Liberal criticism, Wordsworth, Coleridge, and many others, they simply believed that poetry is something that comes from the heart, and heart can be happy seeing just a flower. ऐसा नहीं है. Classical criticism said that always talk about something universal. Classical criticism believes that when you say something, when you talk something, it should always be something very much universally accepted, means the life and death. If I take the reference of corona right now, so I really don't want ki corona jada bade. I really want corona to stop. But imagine now people have forgotten religion, forgotten their issues, the neighborhood issues, the temple issues, the all issues, and now we are valuing the human life. All of a sudden, the mask and sanitizer has become very costly, very important, very important. Imagine. So this is, classicals always believed this thing, that whenever you say something, when you talk about something, it should be always great. Great thought, great emotions, great expression. So great thought means you think about life and death, God, moralities, religion, soul, over soul. So great thought, and then great emotions. You must feel it. It should not be an emotion which is momentary. Classicals believe that your emotion should be very much great, very much deep. You must feel it and then you express it. So when you express it, your expression should be great, which means simply that your expression, when you express something, you should have proper words, proper diction, proper rhymings, so that your great thought, your great emotion, and your great expression must match. Now, what do you think? आपको क्या लगता है? If you want to be a classical writer, you should have a great thought first, then great emotions first, then great expression first. Romantic writers believe that whatever comes through heart is honest, is spontaneous, is not mingled or not mixed, not corrupted. So writers from romanticism, they simply said that if my heart sings seeing a flower, a beautiful flower, that is the purest expression of a man or of a human being. Suppose suppose a person comes to me and starts crying. So what will I say? That come on, your crying is not classical way, no, not great kind of crying. I cannot go through the expression. This is very simple. So should I ignore that crying? What if the person is just hungry for last one day and the crying is actually naturally coming out? So I'm not supporting any of them, but the message is that Wordsworth believed when your heart is full of emotions, spontaneous overflow of powerful emotions, these things are called poetry. So when the poet's heart gets filled with the spontaneous overflow of powerful emotions, the emotions which are recollected in tranquility is called poetry. If you read the famous work written by Wordsworth, Daffodils, there is a line, when oft in my coach I lie, they flash upon my inward eye. So he says, when in pensive mood, in my coach, when oft in my coach I lie, in pensive mood, they flash upon my inward eye, which is the bliss of solitude. He says that my heart dances with daffodils, which is the bliss of solitude. So technically, Wordsworth says that even seeing the flowers of daffodils, I can dance, I can enjoy. But what if the seeing a flower, we say that, oh, it's not great, it is not universally accepted. You should talk about only life and death. And what is the message behind this thing? A thing of beauty is joy forever. A beautiful thing is itself celebrated, is a joy in itself. So Keats did not give us any moral message. Keats doesn't talk about moralities. So according to classical criticism, Keats is a good writer but not a great writer. Why? Because Keats does not preach us. So what do you think, that writings should have a preaching or not? So here, before we go for the writers and we start talking, remember the most important point that I'm going to make you understand. Classical writers were after the writing style, pattern, the content was not compromised. They would respect the content. They would work on their theme. They would work on their, literary devices, literary terms, matching of rhymings, heroic couplets, or everything. While the romantic writers were actually conscious about the purity of the content. Purity means the honesty of the content, something very real, no artificial literature. This is why most of the romantic poetries are written either in blank verse or in free verse. And John Keats has used Spenserian stanzas. Now remember this point here. As I gave you the example of Wordsworth Daffodils. So many of you must have read Daffodils. आप में से बहुत से बच्चों ने Daffodils पढ़ा होगा. आपको बहुत अच्छा लगा होगा. And I am very much sure that many of you must have enjoyed that feeling by reading Wordsworth's Daffodils. Right? Facebook वाले तो मुझे yes कर सकते हैं. Now tell me this thing. In fact, my old batchmate has joined. Very good. So, like when I say that, yes, sir, I felt, I enjoyed reading daffodils. I got lost with daffodils. How many of you have actually seen daffodils? मैंने भी नहीं देखा आज तक. मैंने भी नहीं देखा daffodils. So एक तरफ तो कहते हैं कि like at one side we say that wow, we were reading Wordsworth, we read daffodils, we got lost. And then when somebody questions, do you know daffodils? Have you ever seen daffodils? No. We actually imagined our imaginary flower, rose, lotus, maybe a cabbage flower. गोभी का भी फूल होता है एक तरीके से. बट जब डैफोडिल्स नहीं देखा है, आप नहीं इमेजिन कर सकते. बट रिमेंबर दिस पॉइंट, that this point is actually related to literary theory, that author's message does not reach to the reader in the intended way. That's why I want to tell you. Wordsworth talks about daffodils. We read daffodils, but we think about lotus because a rose because we have never seen. We have never seen that thing. So technically, सुशील जी स्वागत है आपका. सुशील करवासरा, my batchmate, one of the very good human being and a very sweet person. And Sushil, I really miss English literature. हम साथ में पढ़ते थे. So it's an honor. Sushil has joined us on Facebook. And I'm sure Sushil, I miss those days जब हम पढ़ते थे, preparation करते थे. Anyway, sorry for the hindrance. So we talk about the first writer of criticism, and here we have Plato. Now remember this thing, that is it the job of a critic to criticize a poetry, always point out some drawbacks, demerits, or a critic should make the poetry easy for the reader? How do you understand a poetry? 90% students have either some guidebook, some Ramji Lal, some Raghukul Tilak, some A.K. Maheshwari, and then what you do is actually, instead of reading the direct poetry and understanding, we read the passbook, guidebook explanation of some other writer, and then we read. So imagine this thing. Now, again, the part of this is called hermeneutics. This is called the theory of hermeneutics. That one interpretation, original poetry, first writer who has explained it, students are reading this interpretation, and then this interpretation, that is hermeneutics. So we do not go for the real meaning. What we do is we simply read the interpretation done by some another writer whose book we have right now. So this is how we don't get the right meaning. And these are the things related to lit theories. But tell me this thing, what if a critic simply makes the poetry easy for the students? Suppose I read a poetry, I understand, and I explain it to you. What is this? Now remember this point. S.T. Coleridge called it appreciative criticism. So Coleridge said that the job of a critic is not to criticize. Job of a critic is not to find out the demerits. Job of the critic is to make the poetry intelligible, easy, and enjoyable for the reader. So critic is just like a priest in the temple, Maulana in the mosque. What does he do? He makes the thing simple. He makes the preachings of God, sermons of God easy for the devotee. So technically, this is called appreciative criticism. Now remember this thing, that apart from appreciative criticism, we have few more kind of criticism. Historical criticism. John Dryden is known as the father of historical criticism. When you talk about some book, some study, and you keep taking reference from history, this becomes historical criticism. In fact, the father of English criticism is John Dryden. Please write this point, not Ben Jonson. Ben Jonson was not a professional critic. Ben Jonson was not a professional critic. That is why John Dryden is known as the first critic and father of English criticism, called by Samuel Johnson. Please write this thing. Samuel Johnson said that Dryden is the father of English criticism. And who is the father of overall criticism? No, don't go for Plato. It's Aristotle. Aristotle is called father of criticism, and this statement is by John Dryden. So remember this thing. Father of criticism is Aristotle, said by John Dryden. Father of English criticism is John Dryden, said by Samuel Johnson. Now, apart from this thing, that historical criticism was started by John Dryden. Along with these things, the criticism which is related to biography. Suppose, Suppose I read this book. This is Research Methods in English. One reader reads this book, reads my poetry, and keeps on relating it to my life. Can we say that this criticism is related to my biography? Yes. And this is called biographical criticism. And father of biographical criticism is Dr. Samuel Johnson. Remember this point, that father of biographical criticism is Dr. Samuel Johnson, the famous example of lives of the poets. Apart from these things, do we have any critic who was the great poet? Yes. Matthew Arnold is known as the best poet and a critic, and a best critic as a poet, because Matthew Arnold was the professor of poetry at Oxford. Along with Matthew Arnold, it is T.S. Eliot, who is a critic, a novelist, a dramatist, a poet, an essayist, and I'm sure a lot of other things. So, this is all about the basic thing, the informations, and I'll keep sharing it with you. Now, we will talk about the first writer of criticism, Plato. So, first of all, remember this thing that, like, I'll be teaching you Plato in the next video. Today, I'm just talking about the Plato's and basic idea. Plato is simply, he became the first critic because he was the first teacher. Plato was student of Socrates. प्लेटो जो था उसके गुरु का नाम सुकरात था, Socrates. Socrates student Plato, Plato student Aristotle, Aristotle student Alexander the Great. So Plato talked about ideal republic. Plato talked about a proper country. Plato talked about the democratic way of living life, rules and regulations for the king. So Plato simply talked about the idealization, simply the ideal world. And Plato was of the view that we people, whatever we do, whatever we say, whatever we try to communicate, we are living in the world of simulation. Now, many of you must be surprised that Vineet sir is using the concept of simulacra and simulation in Plato. See, somebody has written critics. Critic is Matthew Arnold. No, Ivana. Ivana, हम मिले थे. I know you. North West Bengal University में. Critics critic is Hazlitt. Hazlitt को बोलते हैं critic critic. And I've taught you this thing. So, कहाँ पे था मैं? I'm so sorry. This live session is best session because it keeps me, in use as a teacher. So मैं कहाँ पे था? Plato was talking about idealism, republic and all. Plato said that everything is imitated. We always get first idea. The first idea is generated from the reality. Then only we go for the second idea, third idea. So whatever we do, whatever we say, or any relationship that we form, वो सब मिथ्या है, वो सब fake है, real नहीं है. For example, how do we have laptops, mobile phones? So before laptop, there was a computer, and before computer, desktop computer, there was some calculator. Before calculator, there was abacus. Before abacus, they would use stones to make some markings or the stars. So technically, today's laptop is actually the imitation of various other things. So we are living in the world of simulation. Why? Because nothing is in its first imitation or the original thing. So Plato says either the original thing or the first imitation is accepted. But here we have second imitation, third imitation, fourth imitation. Now, let's make it easy. The original thing was this like grains. Grains we have original thing. But then we got the idea. So we got the idea. Idea became the first copy. We got cereals, we got grains, and we made it the flour. हमने आटा बना दिया. अनाज का हमने आटा बना दिया. So एक तरीके से first और second copy हुआ. But today's world, we have pizza of various types coming from the same grain. So multiple stages. Now we have burgers and all, but they are not real. They are far away from reality. Technically, you are living in this world. We talk about some facts, but again, the facts get manipulated. Plato simply believed that we are living in the world of artificialness. We are in the world of lies. We do not have any authentic truth, authentic way of living life. Death is the only reality, and this was the reason that Plato wanted his people to be very much conscious about the way they live the life. Now, how Plato is related to criticism? Plato talks about the theory of mimesis, means theory of imitation. And second thing is, Plato also talks about that why the poets were banned in an ideal republic. So here I'll be stopping it. In my second video, we'll talk about Plato as a writer. And basically this video is only for my online students and Delhi batch students, those who are not able to come to the class because of Corona. So those who have seen me on Facebook, I'm going to start free sessions only if 31st of March they don't allow us. After 31st of March, if they don't allow us to open the classes, then I'll go for the free live sessions for everyone. Those who want to get the live sessions right now, you should join the courses so that you can be the part of us. So till then, आप सबसे विदा लेते हैं एंड दिल्ली बैच स्टूडेंट्स, यू विल बी गेटिंग 4 वीडियो लेक्चर्स टुडे ओनली. आपको आज 4 वीडियो लेक्चर्स एक साथ मिल जाएंगे सो दैट यू कैन कंटिन्यू योर प्रिपरेशन. थैंक यू सो मच. जय हिंद, जय भारत एंड बच के रहिए कोरोना से. थैंक यू.